So I'm Heidi, and I'm here with Rosemary Dance and Preston Vargas at Grove House in San Francisco. And we are very excited to talk to Preston today about wands.
Yeah. You have a sacred relationship with your wand or with wands, and I'd like to hear about that.
So I guess the first thing I'd say is that one wand hasn't followed me my entire life. As I've changed and as I've grown, so have my wands changed. And I kind of see them as a magical ally that comes in for a period of growth and change and power, and then leaves and finds its new home. So each one of my wands that I've had in succession have their own personalities. They're kind of like a mini organism.
Have you made each of them?
No, a few were gifted to me. Some were bought. And however, I really enjoy the process of making them. For me, it's such a more powerful relationship.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Do you want to talk about your creative process with the one that you have in front of you?
Sure. So the first thing I do, and I did with this one, was I just did a bit of a drum journey to my allies, my spiritual allies, and asked which being they could introduce me to as part of this next growth. And so I wasn't sure if that was going to be a tree or a bone or an animal. It actually happened to be impala. And so I started developing a spiritual relationship with impala as a power animal for me, and what that meant in abundance, and what it also meant in my African ancestry. And so that was the main part of the wand, which was impala horn. And it was important for me to find a horn that fit with my ethics. So the horn was, I acquired it from someone who, the entire impala was used as a food source. So it wasn't a game trophy animal, but it was an animal that was hunted and ethically killed as part of nutrition for themselves and their community. And then I actually just kind of let my imagination roam and my intuition as far as stones. And each time I found a stone, I would, travel into the stone in trance and ask the stone if it would be part of this wand. Because for me, as each stone became part of the wand, it became part of a larger organism. It's kind of like the microflora or the microfauna in someone's gut. It really is a part of that being. It had its own identity at one point, but somehow it's now merged.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful too.
I think that we cast the circle together at the Spiral Dance Ritual in San Francisco earlier this year, or last year, and you used this wand. Can you talk about how the energy moved through the wand, how it moved through you, what it was like to cast such a big, powerful circle with this tool?
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure, like the logistics of the wand, that it had a really good conductor. So what I did is I filled the inside with beeswax, and optical calcite, a bit of my hair to attune it to me, and also some malachite powder. So all of those things are really inside of the wand as a conductor. So when I am pulling in, blue fire from above and below and channeling it out, it's kind of radiating. The wand actually will curve around my arm.
Oh, yeah, I want to see how you hold it.
Yeah. So there are a few different ways that it actually curves around my hand. So I do hold it sometimes as a scepter like that, but really as a wand.
I get it now.
Yeah. So it curves, and it's kind of the traditional one. Usually for me is from your elbow to your middle finger.
Right. And so this is.
And it has a curve, but it still fits. And I really like my palm over here and my fingers over the Atlantean crystal. And so I'm actually casting and pulling with that entire energy. Yeah. And so just adding a bit of things like bone really helps me stay grounded when using it, since it's such a powerful conductor.
When you hold the wand and you're really using it, what color comes out?
Yeah. So with this one, it's definitely blue. For me, what color comes out? It's blue. It's blue, sometimes white, and a little bit silver. But I, at the point in my life when I created this, that was my fire. It was really, really blue. Yeah.
And you said at that time in your life, so has that changed for you?
I find that it does change, and maybe I'll hold to myself what my color is right now, until I'm into that space more. However, it definitely does. I think it changes with the allies, it changes with what ancestors I'm connected to, what deities I'm working with, and it doesn't change for me from day to day. It changes for me, 5 or 7 years at a time. Yeah.
Oh, may I touch it?
Oh yes, yeah, please do.
I don't want to poke you in the eye. That is something.
Yeah.
This little bit here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that right?
Yeah, it'll find its own way. I think that's part of it too. I'll put it down one side and it'll just roll, and it's a being. It'll find its own way where it wants to sit.
What about in general your personal practice with wands? Tell us what you want to tell us.
Let's see. I think of magic sometimes, and I think, okay, would I use a huge transistor to power a flashlight? And it's like, no, not really. I'd use AA batteries. So like for me, if I'm doing just a simple candle spell at home, I often won't use a wand to cast a circle. I might do that with myself or my hands or through visualization. But when I really, really need to make that container strong and I really want to direct energy at my finest, that's when I call upon a wand. And so making a relationship with it is part of my personal practice. Since this wand is going to be an ally for me in my magical working, it's not a servitor. It's an ally. I will keep a wand in my bed at times. So that's often how I make a relationship with magical tools, sleep with them, because in my dream space, I'm also working with them, right? I'll drum journey into the wand. I pack it up and I bring it with me wherever I can. Some countries, when I travel, you can't bring in bone and feather, so and I abide by those restrictions. I understand why they're in place for the ecology of the space. When I can bring it with me, I do. Yeah, I don't let other people use my wands in ritual or with magic, especially if it contains parts of myself. However, I'm okay in my personal practice of letting people touch and hold like that.
It calls to be touched. Do you ever work with a wooden wand?
I do, yeah. I've had oak wands that were struck by lightning. I found this amazing, this really amazing hawthorn tree in a graveyard where I grew up, and that was one of the first ones I made. And I had developed a relationship with the tree. I had made offerings, and in cutting the branch, my saw actually broke. And she did. I had other relationships and other offerings to that hawthorn tree in the graveyard that needed to happen. That it broke my saw was just amazing. And I found that she was willing to give a wand eventually. It just wasn't a particular branch I had chosen. It was one that she was willing to give. So yeah, I've had wooden ones. Rarely will I ask a tree for a live branch. Oftentimes I'll take one that's been struck by lightning or that's already on the ground.
Yeah.
I often though will, if it's a wooden wand, if it hasn't been struck by lightning, I will wrap copper around it as another conductor. I've drilled holes in the bottom and put in meteorite dust, and I've even actually split them and then chiseled a line inside so I could fit like a soft iron inside. Or I've used, for other folks that I've made who wanted a silver core inside, I've actually used this sterling silver paste that you can use as a crafter.
How did you learn all these things?
Trial and error. Maybe in a previous existence I was a wand maker. I really enjoy working with my hands, and in many ways they kind of just find their own stride. I read a lot, I imagine a lot, and what I often do is I will time travel a bit. So in the creation, I will actually travel to when it's already done, and I will work my way backwards.
Uh-huh.
So I travel to when it's already done, and then piece by piece, I work backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a question because I feel a lot of power coming off of this wand right now. And I think when we were talking about this section on tools, we were talking a little bit about where does the power from the witch come from? Does it come from your tools? Does it come from you? Is it a dynamic relationship? Does that change over time? And I was just curious what your thoughts were about that.
Yeah, I think there are some tools, and I think this is one of them, that do have their own bit of a spirit, and I think that's a bit where the power comes from. I also recognize that Impala medicine and the medicine of Atlantean crystal and pyrite and lapis, and all of those things act as a lens, and they have a certain concentration, so they're actually concentrating energy in a certain way. And when it has a core, I think, or some sort of receptacle for power in there, it retains a little bit of power each time power is run through. So the more I use it, I think the more powerful it becomes, really. It's kind of like a solar panel. It retains a bit of a charge. It just doesn't leach out.
Amazing.
So a practice that I find helpful, especially in getting a new one, is, of course, if I didn't make it myself, to cleanse it and consecrate it. And even if I'm making it myself, I will cleanse each individual piece. And so for me, that can be anything from if I found the baleen from a washed up whale, then I will offer to help ferry that whale spirit, that particular whale spirit, to its afterlife if it seems to be trapped. So that's one of the things I might do in part of the cleansing and consecrating process. And if it's something given to me, like I said, I'll cleanse and consecrate it. And if I'm going to give it away afterwards, I will also do the same thing. I might actually unravel some of my own etheric and energy cords before gifting it away. If there's a part of me, it's not something that I, like my hair, it's usually mine for, for this life. It might not always be used as a wand. It may rest in the house as a family heirloom, and then maybe pass on to children or whatnot.
I noticed that some witches tend to favor a thames and some witches tend to favor a wand. What are the differences to you?
For me, a wand really is about directing power. That's what I feel like a wand is about. It's about directing power. It's about having it as a beam, a portal, a bit of a magic maker. And a thame really, I think, is about cutting veils, piercing veils, and even maybe setting up a perimeter. So if I'm casting a circle with a wand, it will probably be a circle of power. If I'm casting a circle with an athame, it will probably be so nothing can cross that sharp edge.
But this is very sharp.
Yeah, and in fact, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I feel it makes a very powerful protective circle. And the fact that impalas use, their horns as, butting up against each other is definitely, it could find many purposes.
And in that way, it's a two-edged item.
Nice. Yeah, in the terminate crystals, there's a crystal on one end, and then there's a Herkimer diamond on the bottom end, and so there is this little beam of light that always comes out of the back as well, and I think that's just it's a wonderful reflection of the world.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
So you are a teacher, and you do all kinds of work in reclaiming and outside of reclaiming. How can people get in touch with you if they'd like to know more about your work or your offerings?
Thank you. So I have had a healing practice for a while, and I also offer classes, workshops, and mentorship, and that's through Familiar Spirits. So my website is familiar-spirits.com. And for me, I really liked Familiar Spirits. I thought it was a wonderful reclaiming of, the way witches were demonized for working with familiar spirits. But I also like, my familiar spirits are also my ancestors, and they're also my guardian angels, and they're also my patron deities, and they're also my own divine self as my familiar spirit. So that's why I chose that particular calling card. But that's how they can get in touch with me, familiar spirits.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Preston.
That's
Thank you.
lovely. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you. Is there anything else that you want to say?
No, I just look
Okay.
forward to the making of parts where we'll be able to
Yeah.
see
Oh,
a
yes,
piece by
that's
piece
right.
process.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel that the mixing of art and magic together is so shamanic and so accessible to all of us.
Yes, so we encourage people to both find a wand or buy one, but also make one and use
And
your
to
hand.
use one.
Yeah,
use
and
one.
to use a wand. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.